for Monday, May 17th, 2021. As you can see, we are much more back to our usual procedures up here in accordance with the CDC guidelines that came out late last week, and it's very gratifying to be able to come this far and be back together in these live meetings with our public here in attendance. So I will begin this evening by introducing Tim Allison, who's chaplain and bereavement coordinator at the Visiting Nurses Association, who will offer our invocation. If you would please stand and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear God, tonight we speak peace where there is turmoil. We speak hope where there is despair. We speak love where there is hate. Tonight, we ask for wisdom beyond our own wisdom and compassion beyond our own compassion. May we do the work of the people for the people. May we be your humble servants. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmembers Huff.
Here.
Perkins. Stewart.
Here.
DeLucy. Here. Steinmeier.
Here.
Hobart.
Here.
Mayor Weir.
Here. Our first presentation, our only presentation this evening, this was something that we wanted to show last week at the study session, but the meeting got kind of long, and I know everybody was eager to wrap it up. So I asked Meg Lewis, our public information officer, who is also our liaison for our branding committee, just to take a few moments to share these videos that were conceived, produced, and executed by our branding committee for the city in celebration of Truman's birthday last week on May 8th. And they're just really, really terrific, and I wanted to make sure everybody had an opportunity to share them. So Meg, you want to take it away?
My fellow citizens, today all of us have greater responsibilities than ever before to ourselves and to the rest of the free world. We must live up to those responsibilities.
Scene one, take one.
Education is one thing that can't be taken away from you.
Not all readers become leaders, but all leaders must be readers.
Remember, do your best. History will do the rest.
Whether discrimination is based on race or creed or color or land of origin, it is utterly contrary to American ideals of democracy.
What we do or fail to do at home affects not only ourselves, but millions throughout the world.
Never use two words when one will do best.
Men make history, but history does not make the man.
You cannot stop the spread of an idea by passing a law against it.
America was built on courage, on imagination, and an unbeatable determination to do the job at hand.
Fame is a vapor. Popularity, an accident. Riches take wings. And those who cheer today may curse tomorrow. Only one thing endures. Character.
1508.
Since a child at my mother's knee, I believed in honor, ethics, and right living as its own reward.
My own sympathy has always been with the little fellow, the man without advantages.
There is nothing new in the world except the history you do not know.
I always tell the students that it is what you learn after you know it all that counts.
It's amazing what you can accomplish if you don't care who gets the credit. Happy Truman Day.
Happy birthday, President Truman.
Happy birthday, Harry.
Happy birthday, President Truman.
And happy Truman Day.
Happy birthday, Mr. President.
Happy birthday, President Truman.
Presidents of the United States are men who understand what it means to be the chief executive of the greatest country in the history of the world, and that's all there is to it.
This video is organized also by our brand committee and features local youth from across the community in a variety of different venues.
The United States of America is the greatest republic in the history of the world. We want to keep it the greatest republic.
It'll be up to you young people to do that job in the future. Youth as the hope of the world. That was the motto on the front door of the high school from which I graduated. Only was written in Latin. Juventus Spes Mundi. I never forget it. I never have forgotten it. And I still think youth is the hope of the world. And that they always will be. It is just as true now as it was when I came out of that small town high school. It is necessary for the young people to understand the road to be followed. If this country is to accomplish the mission which God intended it to accomplish in this world. I hope I can give you some idea of how to follow that road into tomorrow. And the future of the world. I hope you will go back to your schools and talk about it. And discuss it. I hope you will write about it in your publications.
Because it's your responsibility as editors
to work for the good of your great country. And for the future of the world. Both are in your hands. Now, the thing I want to impress upon you is that government must be operated on the basis of the greatest good. For its greatest number for its citizens. That is the fundamental basis of the domestic program and the foreign policy of this government of yours and mine. No nation is good and can last unless it is built upon our ideals. Our nation is built on ideals. Ideals of unselfishness. Respect for the rights and welfare of others.
Thanks, Meg, for sharing those. They are available on many of our city social media sites and our website. And again, I just wanted to say a sincere thanks to our brand committee who put these together. And I just think it reflects so many positive things that are going on in our community that we should certainly take a moment to appreciate and dwell upon in celebration of certainly President Truman's birthday and the great things that are going on in our community at this time. So thanks for sharing those with us. Madam City Clerk, I don't believe we had any citizens who requested to speak to the council this evening. We do have several public hearings coming up. Are there any citizens here present or joining us online who wish to address the council this morning on any topics other than those outlined in the public hearings? Okay, seeing none, our first proclamation this evening is for National Gun Violence Awareness Day. Madam City Clerk.
Whereas every day 100 Americans are killed by gun violence, and on average there are nearly 13,000 gun homicides every year. And Americans are 25 times more likely to be killed with guns than people in other developed countries. And whereas mayors and law enforcement officers know their communities best, are the most familiar with local criminal activity and how to address it, and are best positioned to understand how to keep their citizens safe. Whereas in January 2013, Hadia Pendleton, a teenager who marched in President Obama's second inaugural parade, was tragically shot and killed just weeks later. To help honor Hadia and the 100 Americans whose lives are cut short and the countless survivors who are injured by shootings every day, a national coalition of organizations has designated June 4th, 2021, the first Friday in June, as the 7th National Gun Violence Awareness Day. Whereas we renew our commitment to reduce gun violence and pledge to do all we can to keep firearms out of the wrong hands and encourage responsible gun ownership to help keep our children safe. Now don't know where that came from. Now therefore, Eileen N. Weir, Mayor of the City of Independence, Missouri, by virtue vested in her, hereby proclaims June 4th, 2021 as National Gun Violence Awareness Day in Independence, and encourage all citizens to support their local community efforts to prevent the tragic effects of gun violence and to honor and value human lives.
Okay, thank you. You want to come forward and accept this proclamation? Take your picture. Yes, go ahead. Why don't you just come up to this podium with the microphone so the people at home can hear you too?
We at Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense thank you so much, Mayor Weir, for making this proclamation for National Gun Violence Awareness Day on June 4th. And thank you for all you do for keeping all of us in Independence safe.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Our next proclamation is for Emergency Medical Services Week.
Whereas emergency medical services are vital public services, and whereas the members of EMS organizations are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And whereas emergency medical services embody the true concept of teamwork by recognizing the interdependent relationship among the trauma centers, EMS system, hospitals, emergency physicians, emergency nurses, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, firefighters, educators, administrators, and others who are dedicated to saving lives. And whereas the members of the EMS organizations, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. Whereas 2021's national theme, "This is EMS, Caring for Our Communities," reflects the selfless calling that makes EMS so vital and recognizes the unique sacrifices that EMS professionals have made during this long year, providing the services needed to care for their needs of their citizens while still responding to the everyday emergencies that continue to occur in their communities. Now therefore, Eileen N. Weir, Mayor of the City of Independence, hereby proclaims the week of May 16th to 22nd, 2021 as Emergency Medical Services Week.
Okay, thank you very much. Oh, we have two. Okay, very good. Paul from the AMR is here, and Chief Craig Duplantis to receive these proclamations. Thanks, Paul. Oh, wait a minute. Don't forget your picture. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, this takes us to our consent agenda.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I move to approve the reports and recommendations of the city manager.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any items any council member wishes pulled for separate consideration?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
can you please pull Resolution 21752?
Yes. Okay. Any others?
Number 5.
Okay. I'd like to pull 21754. Okay, anything else? Okay, Madam City Clerk? Yes.
Sorry, for information only? Is that what we're, no.
Just the consent agenda.
Just the
That's fine.
consent agenda.
Okay, just want to
Yeah.
make sure.
Okay. No others? Madam City Clerk, will you please call the roll on the consent agenda minus Resolution 21752? item number 5, and resolution 21-754.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins, Stewart,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes. Councilmember Stewart, resolution 21-752.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Since this is your resolution, I just
Yeah.
wanted to kind of hear more of your thoughts on
Okay.
this, kind of your reasoning behind it and what you kind of hope it will accomplish. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'd be glad to speak to this. I and perhaps some of others on the council have been approached from members of the community who have asked us to consider adopting some ordinances that some neighboring cities and communities and cities across the country have looked into regarding certain aspects of non-discrimination and also a prohibition on a practice known as conversion therapy against youth. So some samples of other ordinances from other cities, including Kansas City and several communities on the Kansas side of our metropolitan area, have adopted these ordinances. So this resolution would be to direct the Human Relations Commission to evaluate these policies, and sample ordinances have been provided to us, and bring this back to the council for a recommendation.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
have we had a problem in Independence with conversion therapy or discrimination of some kind that we need to address?
I have been informed that we have, yes.
How? Conversion therapy is where it's an assault, and if someone's being assaulted, there's criminal statutes. I guess I'm very surprised that there is any kind of conversion therapy problem in Independence.
I have been informed that this is going on in Independence, yes.
Well, I would request first that the police investigate whether or not there's been assaults to justify us asking a committee to look at legislation. I mean, I'm shocked. I'm surprised.
So was I.
So why don't we have an investigation by city staff to see if there really is a problem or if it's someone's perception of a problem? Versus asking a committee to take a look at possible ordinances.
I think from a police perspective, and the chief is online, we would need a formal complaint which to follow up on and investigate just with any other crime. If you wanted the commission to look at generally any issues and report back, that might be an avenue, but as far as a police investigation, I think they would need a formal complaint to start a case.
And perhaps Chief Halsey can let us know, has there been a formal complaint?
Mr. City Manager, would you like to address that to the chief? I don't know if he's...
Yeah, I don't know if he's having technology issues or what, but we can follow up on that for you, certainly.
Member Stewart, would you like to make a motion on the resolution?
I'll just make a motion for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Do we maybe postpone this? Councilman DeLucci?
I'm going to vote no. I just don't think we have enough information. But if, there's a motion and a second, I don't know if it's too late to make a motion to postpone.
I mean, really, this is simply asking our Human Relations Commission to review some ordinances that have been adopted by neighboring cities regarding these, and giving us a recommendation if they feel that this is something to pursue by the city council.
And I don't want to have a solution looking for a problem. Madam Clerk, is it
Mayor.
too late?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Madam
Chief,
Mayor?
go ahead.
Yes.
They're working on the audio, so I'm not hearing everything. So I'm not sure what was asked or what was even being said, so I apologize.
Chief Halsey, it's Karen DeLucci. I asked if we have a problem, if there's been any kind of complaints from any citizen to the police department on conversion therapy or discrimination, that we should have the Human Relations Committee look at it. To your knowledge.
Yeah, I think I heard everything, so I'll answer that with not to my knowledge. But again, you're missing about every other word. They're working on the audio.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Madam City Clerk, is it too late for me to make a motion to postpone?
It is not.
Then I make a motion to postpone.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
No. Motion passes. Councilmember Huff, item number 5. I'm sorry, postponed till when?
I assume the next meeting. I'm sorry, I didn't
Okay.
realize I had I apologize.
So that would be June 7th. Okay. Item number 5.
Yes. My deal with this is we've been messing around with this for quite a while, and I thought we had RFPs already out there. Is that correct?
No, we got direction from the council to develop an RFP, and then the council came back and modified that further by putting a percentage value of used equipment versus new equipment. So we incorporated that in, but now this would retain power engineers to both cite where these would be located, as well as helping to identify the specs for the new combustion turbines.
Right. I don't really have a problem with power engineering or the study itself. It's the timeline. It seems like it's pretty far out there. We're talking the end of September, 1st of October. Is there any way to push that up a little bit, or what's your timeline on RFPs at this point?
I'm going to ask Jim to come up and clarify that for you, just as far as when they would anticipate all those bids coming back in and getting it issued and all that.
Mayor, council members, Jim Nail, Director IPL. We reached out to 4 different firms that are on the approved A&E list that have experience in developing generation technologies, and across the board, a 3-month window was considered aggressive by all 3 of them in order to make sure we get all the details correct.
So that would be August, right? June,
By the 1st of September.
Right, and this is at the end. So this is their report after that, is what you're saying?
Our hope, the intent is to have the RFP ready to release by the 1st of September. So that would give them 3 months to do the siting study and develop the RFP and get it on the streets.
We don't have that expertise down there to...
No, sir, we don't. Our engineering staff is all T&D, the design and maintenance of transmission distribution systems, not generation.
It just seems like we're going to be at the first of the year or later before we come up with any solution here. Would that be correct?
I agree. With $50 to $100 million, we want to make sure we do it right.
No, I understand that. I don't have a problem with that. Okay. I move to approve number 5.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. City Manager, this is obviously a very critical decision, and we need this expertise to help us make it. But could you just give us an update along the way? Maybe about the halfway point, and let us know where we are and that we're staying on track with it.
Yeah, if the council would entertain it, what we could do is right before we're ready to release it, come and give the council an update on that. And then as we're going through that evaluation process, once we've kind of summarized that, then we could come back and give another update about the conclusion of that. So we could provide some relevant, timely updates along the way.
Okay, that would be very helpful. Thank you. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Huff,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes. Item number 5 passes. 21754 is a resolution removing mask requirements for indoor and outdoor public spaces. This was requested by council members Steinmeier and Huff. So given the current health order that does not require masks in indoors and outdoor public spaces, I just thought it would be good to have an understanding of what this would do above and beyond, if anything, what is currently in place.
Well, Madam Mayor, thank you for bringing this forward and having a discussion on it. I would like to point out in section 1 that it expresses its confidence in citizens and businesses to use their discretion on the use of masks. We want to just restore that individual freedom and liberty for businesses and patrons and residents of this city to decide what they're comfortable with. It's by no means a statement to say, take the masks off, never see them, burn them, trash them. This is left to you. It's left to the folks of Independence to decide what they're comfortable doing, how they want to live, if they want to be in a business that is completely open or not. And I think individual liberty and freedom needs to be restored, and this bill is intended for that purpose. So, and I would like for us to be able to restore those choices back to the people of Independence.
Anything? I'm sorry.
Just, is there a difference between this resolution and what the current health order is?
It's a good question, Councilmember Hobart. I really want us to, as a council, be a part of the mandates that will either be determined today or down the road. And I think that the council has, we need to have voice into this. So this is really just restoring some order to the council to give an opinion for our constituents who have been quite vocal in many cases, and allow us to give input to any future mandates and to have a vote accordingly. So I want to be in lockstep with what the CDC is saying, but more importantly, I want the people to have their choice and their freedoms and their liberties back. And that's my main intent.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that explanation. I think I understand it better now, and you were very clairvoyant in predicting that this CDC recommendation was going to come down, so I would make a motion for approval.
Second.
Is there any further discussion?
I just have a question, Madam Mayor. Do we have any emergency rule now, or are they gone? Like Friday, you removed like the mask mandate and the social distancing.
Right, we do, and we had our regular health order check-in meeting that we have. It's mandated to be every 30 days. We typically have it about every 2 weeks. We have our incident command team meeting every week. I did ask that question of Chief Short. We saw that some other cities had lifted their emergency order, and Chief indicated that there was still reason to have the emergency order in place. Mr. City Manager, I don't know if you want to address that or not, but essentially we are no longer enforcing or regulating wearing of masks, social distancing, capacity limits, all of those things that were part. I mean, the health order is only a portion of the emergency order, and we are still under the state of emergency.
Yeah, just to add to what the mayor was saying, the health order really spoke to the masks and distancing and capacity limits, and those have all, there is not anything in place that addresses that now. The state of emergency is more of financial accounting mechanism for us. So as we're still operating our health clinic, our vaccination clinic right now, some of the other activities that are still related to the COVID-19 response, by having a declared state of emergency on the book, these activities would be eligible for federal reimbursement. It could be several years down the road before they get around to that, but it allows us to continue to document those expenses and recoup them. But it has no bearing on, the individual choices, the health orders, things of that nature.
Okay, thank you.
So this is all about the money?
It's about recovering the cost that we're
Right, that's what I'm saying,
spending. Yes, sir.
down the road.
Yes, sir.
So
Yeah.
leaving the state of emergency.
Helps
and
us
we're still
recover
in with
those
the government.
costs coming back in. Yep, thanks for the clarification.
So, Madam Mayor?
Yes.
So just so I understand too, so the state of emergency that we are currently in, you said it could be years down the road?
No.
No, that's not.
That, for the money to be recovered? Do we have to remain in that condition?
We don't have to remain in that. I'm just saying sometimes the federal government moves slow and it takes us a while to recover those costs.
And I understand that, but so help my constituents understand what time frame we're looking at to lift this state of emergency.
Would probably more
Chief,
depend on.
Do you want to call him too short?
Sure, Chief Short, go ahead.
And the only reason why I bring it up is, I mean, we're in month 14.
Right, and
Of
the
a state
state
of
of
emergency.
Missouri, right, and the state of Missouri is still under a state of emergency as well.
I understand.
Yeah.
And I understand that. My concern throughout the process, and I was okay with it in the beginning because we didn't know. We didn't know what we didn't know.
We didn't know.
And so we all kind of agreed that this was the right course of action. Kind of have been wearing thin on this course of action for the last few months, and I'm thinking that at some point, the council's got to be restored to make decisions and give voice and vote on mandates
So-
that we're putting on businesses in the community.
Okay.
And I think we've lost some of that in our state of emergency. And I'm not sure that our charter gives us this open-ended time frame to do so.
So, Councilman, I'm going to let the chief talk about the state of emergency, and then I was planning on addressing it at the end of the meeting, but I'll address it after the chief talks about the legislation regarding this that was passed by the Missouri legislature. So go ahead, Chief.
Good evening, Council, Mayor, Chief Short. So the state of emergency is more than just the health order. The health order was only actually a small component of that state of emergency. We are currently doing food box operations through the Parks Department. That is from grants and federal subsidies that we get from the federal government through USDA. If we weren't under a state of emergency, we couldn't provide those kind of operations. The vaccination clinics, the things that we're doing for that, as long as we're under a state of emergency, we can continue to provide those and know that at some point we'll get recovery for the money for it. We have other housing opportunities, we have homeless opportunities, things of that nature that as long as we remain under a state of emergency, which is still causing problems from COVID, we still have that ability to recover. Do we need to stay in that state until recovery is done? No. But as long as we're still choosing to find ways that we need to recover from that pandemic emergency, then we want to maintain that in order to utilize all of the federal and state resources that are available to us.
And Chief Short, I appreciate everything you've done in the process as well. I just want to make sure that, because I'm reading state of emergency, the language is pretty strict in here. And while I understand your position, I look at the business community and their position too, and the recovery efforts they now have to make. And it's difficult. And a lot of it was not decisions they made. These are decisions that they're having to deal with because we made those. And so I have no problem staying in it, but I think we need to revise it, reword it, change it, and we need to get it down to what we're we're trying to say.
Well, and I think that's what's happening with the health order, is that health order's coming down based on those CDC recommendations and things of that nature. So that's coming down in that. Now, there may be some small business types of opportunities that we as a city can attach onto and provide for those small businesses, that as long as we're in the state of emergency, we could do that. It's not any different than if a tornado goes through town and wipes out all of our public utilities. We want to make sure that we provide that state of emergency until we have recovered from that. Got all of the things that it's needed to recover for our taxpayers, and then we close the state of emergency, and at that point we recover it. But as long as we remain into it, yes, we don't have to be as critical with the health orders. Those health orders are directed by what we were following in CDC guidance. As those are now coming down, a lot of our focus is going to be continued on human services throughout the city, because that's where the opportunity for more recovery is at right now. But early, it was more based on the vaccine and the epidemic itself. Now the recovery is based on the human services part of that emergency that was created.
And I'm okay with the revised state of emergency. I want the council to get a voice back and give input to future mandates, because there was a lot that happened without our voice.
Right.
And I'd like to see us get back involved for our constituents, rather than having 5 people making decisions for everybody. So if we can change the wording, I'm good with that. Mr. City Manager, if that's possible to do that with the...
It's charter and ordinance.
So let me just interject. This is an issue that was a top priority for the Missouri General Assembly during this session, and one that John Mayfield and I were very involved with our lobbyists and our legislators in Jefferson City. And it went through many, many debates and many versions. Ultimately, where it landed, Councilman, is that these things would need to be voted on by the governing body, and there could not be restrictions. I mean, there's more detail than I can recite for you now, but that you would not be able to sustain restrictions for more than 30 days in a 180-day period or something like that. So there is legislation that passed both, that is awaiting the governor's signature, that would give authority back to the governing body to vote on future restrictions. So I fully expect the governor, I mean, it's part of a large bill, so you never know what might be in there that would prevent the governor potentially from signing it. But I think it's something that the governor has been supportive of. I think it will most likely be signed, and we should be getting a report from both of our lobbyists this week to kind of do a wrap up of the session. But what you're proposing, even though, I mean, you know, we did argue that does go against what's written in our charter regarding the state of emergency, and then backed up by many, many portions of the code. You know, that is what the legislature is suggesting, is what is, or has passed, is what you are suggesting. So we'll certainly, you know, watch to see when the governor signs that and what impact that will have.
I just wanted to make sure that we make the effort to remove some of this language that talks about business failure to comply, progressive disciplinary measures. These kinds of things need to go away.
Right.
And we need to get it positioned to what you're saying we need to have
And
in order to be in
that
compliance.
I totally
that was in the
understand.
health
What's
order.
in the actual health order?
And none of those, all of those have been lifted.
I'll give you an example of why we still want to maintain that emergency. 2 weeks ago, the CDC put out a grant opportunity for $50,000 to $100,000 for us to be able to enhance and do diversity things in order for vaccinations to occur better, you know, to have a better situation. They gave us a week to apply. Well, under normal circumstances, without the state of emergency, we would have to bring it to the council before we could even apply for it. Which, if this fell on a Monday, we wouldn't even be eligible because we would have to wait 2 weeks in order to do that. But because we're in a state of emergency, the group as a whole, under the emergency auspices, as long as it meets that emergency, have that ability to make that decision. Now, the health orders and those things, yes, you're right, those can continue to be reduced.
It'd be good to know what the rules are. I mean, I am so confused over what the rules are. I think something simple that even I can understand it would be greatly appreciated. I understand that.
Sorry, it's government.
Say it again.
It's government.
I'm sorry,
It's
it's government.
I know. And that makes you crazy because you read this and it says we're in a state of emergency because the sky is falling. Well, the sky really isn't falling anymore. And maybe we have a few cracks in the ceiling. And so I'd like to know what is necessary and what is not necessary. And a revision of the state of emergency, I think, is in order.
That's fine. It's due for another revision.
Yep. Okay, very
Coming
good.
up in a week, so we can definitely look at those.
Okay, so we do have a motion and a second on the floor on resolution 21-754.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I don't mean to interrupt you again. I know you're trying to conduct business
Yes.
here. So I wonder is there a way to amend this resolution, and maybe I'm out of line, to ask for a revised version?
Let's just do it next time.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah, let's do it next time.
we'll just do it.
Okay.
I mean, we've heard that this
Okay.
is, something that we
So
need
you
to
don't
do.
want to get into 4 or 5 votes tonight on this one
Right,
resolution?
exactly.
Okay.
We'll just
All right.
make that, we'll put that on our schedule for this week
Just
for
trying to-
our
just trying to
regular Wednesday meeting to amend that state of emergency. So, yeah, so I don't think there's any reason to amend the motion. We'll just get that, we'll just take a look at that. Okay, is there any further discussion? Okay. Madam City Clerk, will you please call the roll on 21-754?
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
DeLucy.
Yes.
Steinmeier.
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes. Resolution passes. Okay, now for our public hearings. Our first public hearing is for the fiscal year 2021-2022 proposed budget hearing. This is a full public hearing. So is there anyone present who would like to speak on the proposed budget? Okay, hearing none, this public hearing is closed. Our next is a public hearing for the application by Don Parker requesting a rezoning from C1 Neighborhood Commercial to RA Residential Agricultural for the property located at 1801 South Missouri 7 Highway. This is new information only. Mr. Arroyo.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. My name is Rick Arroyo. I'm the Assistant Community Development Director here at the city. This rezoning application was considered by Planning Commission on April 13th. Planning Commission did recommend in favor of this rezoning. This is basically taking a portion of property that is C1 next to residential agricultural and combining it for the property owner. I have no new information to add.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any comments or questions from the council on the public hearing? Okay, the public hearing is closed. Madam City Clerk.
Bill number 21-020, an ordinance approving a rezoning from District C1 Neighborhood Commercial to District RA Residential Agricultural for the property at 1801 South M7 Highway in Independence, Missouri. Second and final reading.
Is there any discussion on this bill? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes. Ordinance passes. Our next public hearing is for the application by Joshua Mygat requesting a rezoning from C2 General Commercial to R12 Two-Family Residential for the property located at 16403 East 3rd Street North. This is new information only. Mr. Arroyo.
Thank you again. This rezoning application was considered by Planning Commission again on April 13th. Planning Commission did recommend in favor of it. This is a property that's over off of 291 that is currently zoned C2. The applicant wishes to build a duplex property on there because of the size. It's actually kind of small, so it's really not suited for commercial. But with that, I have no new information to add.
Okay, thank you. Are there any comments or questions from the
Yep.
council on the public hearing? Yes, go ahead.
Can you speak up? I'm having a hard time.
I'm sorry.
pretty
Yeah.
deaf and it's not coming across real loud over here. But
Okay,
other
you
than
wanna-
that, I don't have any problem.
Okay. This was the one that the property is really just a wooded area and,
It's across from that Little Richard's restaurant.
okay.
It's across the street, and it's actually a vacant lot. And it's kind of behind another commercial zoning right before it gets into another residential subdivision. The lot is actually very shallow, and so the owner who took possession of it earlier this year did not feel that it would be suitable for a commercial site with parking requirements, et cetera. So,
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions on the public hearing? Okay, the public hearing is closed. Madam City Clerk.
Bill number 21-021, an ordinance approving a rezoning from District C2 General Commercial to District R12 Two-Family Residential for the property at 16403 East 3rd Street North in Independence, Missouri. Second and final reading.
Is there any discussion on this bill? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff?
Yes.
Stewart?
Yes.
Deleuze?
Yes.
Steinmeier?
Yes.
Hobart?
Yes.
Mayor Ware?
Yes. Ordinance passes. Next is a public hearing for the application by Dan Jensen requesting a preliminary development plan for Cargo Largo located at 3232 South Nolan Road in District C2 PUD General Commercial Planned Unit Development. This is new information only. Mr. Arroyo.
Yes, thank you. And again, this particular plan was brought to Planning Commission on April 13th. Planning Commission did recommend in favor of it. If some might remember, this is actually an amended plan that Cargo Largo had submitted 3 years ago. That plan has actually expired. This one does have a few changes to it. The building's a little bit larger. They intend to condense all their administrative into this one building, and it does indeed have more of a complete traffic plan to it. So with that, I have no further information.
Okay. Are there any comments or questions from the council on the public hearing?
I actually do have a question for
Yes.
him. Mr. Arroyo, I got an email from a constituent that asked if there's a conservation area. Is there a conservation area there?
I know on the development plan, there's some area back that they're going to use for detention areas, but I don't recall there being a specific conservation easement on that development site.
The person that was emailing me lives over there, and they were concerned that it would encroach on a conservation area, but from the best of your knowledge, that's not the case?
To the best of my knowledge, it's not the case. If there is an actual easement there, then that would actually still be respected. Typically, if there's any type of stream setbacks or environmental issues along with that, that would have to be included through the engineering process.
Okay,
So,
and you haven't seen that in this process?
Right now, with the preliminary development plan, we haven't gotten to the engineering part of that yet, but there are areas on that particular plan that are designated for mitigation, stormwater mitigation, that type of thing.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I have a question as well.
Yes.
I had received a call from a constituent today, and they were asking about this project. And they were wondering if if one of the access points off Nolan Road is going to be that 33rd Street?
So this does indeed have an access point, which is at where it crosses a railroad track. The updated traffic study does show a signalized intersection along Nolan for that and for that purpose. Again, as we get further into the engineering side of it, that's when that will really come to light. But there is part of that traffic plan with different aspects of being able to make that turn with the timing of the existing light. So, but yes, this is part of that.
Yeah. Is there going to be another access point? I think it's Lynn
Yes,
Court?
Lynn Court.
Yeah.
There is that road along that backside.
By the library.
By the library
Yeah.
would be extended down to, I think, 35th Street, and so there would be another access point there,
Yeah.
yes.
I guess the concern, and I share some of this concern too, because I live over by there, is when the train goes through, sometimes it goes through fast, sometimes it goes through slow, sometimes it stops. And you will see drivers doing things that they should not do, trying to avoid the train or have lost patience and backing out onto Nolan Road. And so the concern is that another access point across from a high school, from a busy intersection, that might create some issues on Nolan Road and the flow of traffic.
So part of that traffic study showed a preemptive signal, which is basically, it's a design that creates an environment where the traffic is cleared before anybody gets stuck, for example, trying to make that left turn. And then again, this particular location does have the crossing arms that will come down to prevent anybody from actually trying to make that turn. So, I mean, I don't have any more detail other than that to tell you, but it has been looked at, and we are trying to make sure that gets addressed with the actual construction of the development.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see that. Okay.
Okay, any other comments or questions?
Yeah, so there's not enough room over there if you're going south, to have a turn lane there at all, between there and the railroad tracks, to alleviate the right hand backing up. I can see the left hand, you have that island out there, which is not an issue. I think going southbound, especially during the holidays and stuff, they get backed up. I was wondering if there's room over there to put a turning lane.
So I know that discussion came up in Planning Commission, and I believe there's a very narrow area that could possibly create that left turn. I'm probably not the best person to answer that question, but I know we did discuss that during the Planning Commission meeting. So if I don't think it came up in the report as being required, but again, I'm probably not the best person to answer that. It would be more of the traffic engineering consultant.
Okay, are there any other comments or questions from the council? Okay, this public hearing is closed. Madam City Clerk.
Bill number 21-022, an ordinance approving a preliminary development plan for the property at 3232 South Nolan Road in District C2 PUD General Commercial Planned Unit Development in Independence, Missouri. Second and final reading.
Is there any discussion on this bill? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes, ordinance passes. Okay, this brings us to our non-ordinance action item. Madam City Clerk.
Council action is requested to authorize the city manager to execute a contract with the Inglewood Business Association to license the use of the public area of the Inglewood Arts District and vicinity in connection with certain promotional events scheduled in 2021-2022.
Is there any discussion on this item? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes, item passes. We have one first reading tonight, and we have two emergency ordinances. Madam City Clerk.
Bill number 21-023, an ordinance amending Article 28 of Chapter 1 of the Independent City Code pertaining to the Commission on Human Relations. Bill number 21-506, an ordinance authorizing the borrowing of not to exceed $45 million from the Missouri Development Finance Board in connection with the refinancing of certain redevelopment costs described in the Cracker Neck Creek Tax Increment Financing Plan previously approved by the city, approving the form of and authorizing the execution of certain documents with Missouri Development Finance Board, providing for the administration of the Cracker Neck Creek Special Allocation Fund, prescribing other matters relating thereto, and declaring an emergency. Bill number 21-506, an ordinance authorizing the borrowing of not to exceed $45 million from the Missouri Development Finance Board in connection with the refinancing of certain redevelopment costs described in the Crackerneck Creek Tax Increment Financing Plan previously approved by the city, approving the form of and authorizing the execution of certain documents with the Missouri Development Finance Board, providing for the administration of the Crackerneck Creek Special Allocation Fund, prescribing other matters relating thereto, and declaring an emergency. Second and final reading.
Is there any discussion on this bill? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff?
Yes.
Stewart?
Yes.
DeLucy?
Yes.
Steinmeier?
Yes.
Hobart?
Yes.
Mayor Weir?
Yes. Ordinance passes.
Bill number 21-507, an ordinance authorizing the deposit of funds by the city to defease certain bonds related to the Drum Farm redevelopment project, dissolving the related special allocation fund account, terminating the redevelopment area, and prescribing matters related thereto, and declaring an emergency. 21-507, an ordinance authorizing the deposit of funds by the city to defease certain bonds related to the Drum Farm redevelopment project, dissolving the related special allocation fund account, terminating the redevelopment area, and prescribing matters related thereto, and declaring an emergency. Second and final reading.
Is there any discussion on this bill? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff?
Yes.
Stewart?
Yes.
DeLucy?
Yes.
Steinmeier?
Yes.
Hobart?
Yes.
Mayor Weir?
Yes. Ordinance passes. Information only. Councilman Steinmeier had an item that you wanted to discuss?
We already discussed it.
Okay, got it. We will make it, we will update that. I also had an item on here, Mr. City Manager, it just regarding the National Park Service Trails, the new signs to install for the National Park Service Trails Retracement Corridor. So it called to mind our wayfaring signage in the city, which, you know, has certainly been up a long time. Some of it is in pretty bad condition. I noticed we've done a lot of rearranging in this building, and some of our signage is woefully out of date, which is, now that we are reopening, you know, I want to make it easy for people to find where they're going to. So that's a secondary issue. But with the downtown redevelopment plan, the Square Streetscape plan, that the planning portion of that has been approved. Are we starting to look at down the road replacing the wayfaring signage? I mean, some of it probably honestly could just be removed. It's in such poor condition. So I just wanted to see if that is something that's being contemplated sometime in the future.
Yeah, I think it's being kicked around at a few of our different citizen advisory committees. I think the brand committee, once they got their work done with the new city brand, that gave us the opportunity. Certainly the Tourism Commission would see this as a priority, and then incorporating that in with the work of the Honor Roll Committee as well too. So I know that was shelved for quite some time, but I think those conversations are starting to repopulate.
And I mean, I know this is an expensive undertaking, and it's not our top priority, and certainly in this budget year. But you know, just if we could get sort of a forecast of when we expect to address that, as we're sprucing up some areas of town, that would be a nice improvement to see.
Certainly.
And direct people to our tourism sites where we need them to go. Okay, this takes us to council member comments. I'll start on my left with Councilman Hobart.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Councilman Steinmeier.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. City Manager, we had a rather delightful conversation over the last week regarding our homeless situation. I received 2 calls today from constituents who have a lot of concerns that we're not doing enough. You may have guessed through our communications, I would probably agree with that. So I am asking for, and this constituent is in my district, but also owns a business in Councilmember Perkins' district, and she's feeling somewhat left out in terms of the expense not being a concern. She feels like as a citizen, as a taxpayer, as a business owner, that the same regard for people's, I mean, and she was trying to be very polite. She was trying to keep it compassionate, but at the same time, she's saying, I don't feel safe walking to, I will not go to Quick Trip on 39th and Nolan any longer. My kids and I, we can't go there. We get hit up for money all the time. I told her we do have an ordinance that prohibits them from coming off the sidewalk and asking. So there are things in place, and she's aware that we're struggling with patrols. But again, our first responsibility in government is the safety and the welfare of our people. I really want to see us get things done. She actually called the mayor's secretary today and said that the homeless individual had one shoe on, walked across Nolan Road against the light. He was jaywalking, put himself at a great deal of risk. I want to continue the conversation that we really need to begin to move folks along, and I mean, I think that's where people get concerned in terms of their rights, but as long as we're doing it in a way that keeps them moving, I think we're in compliance. But at some point, I say we test the waters, and if we have to, and we make a stand, because I don't want moms feeling unsafe with their children walking from their car into a business anywhere in this city. And I think we have that responsibility to them. So I know we've had that discussion. I know we'll probably have it again. But I just want to keep reiterating, it's for the safety and the welfare of our people that we have the discussion. And I know that you're not insensitive to that.
No,
So,
we'll keep that issue moving along those lines of the conversations we were having, absolutely.
thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember DeLucy.
Mr. City Manager, I was surprised that no citizen had any questions or comments about the budget. So I wondered, I just want to go through these dates to let people know they can still comment. May 24 is a study session, and are people allowed to comment during a study session?
They aren't under the council rules of procedure, but, we certainly have the opportunity to amend those
Or to suspend them?
Or suspend them, yeah.
And then June 1 is a Tuesday. Are we going to have a meeting on June 1 because May 31 is Memorial Day? What are we doing on that?
The 31st is the 5th Monday, so
Oh,
our
okay.
next regular meeting would be June 7th.
Okay. And that's where we're voting, or is that a study session?
That is a regular meeting, but that's the first reading of the
Okay.
budget ordinance.
Okay. And then when are we voting on it?
2
June
weeks after the-
21st, the longest day of the
21.
year.
Okay.
We need to have every minute.
Thanks so much. Okay, so on those dates, citizens can come, and if it's a study session, we can suspend the rules if they want to address the budget, because it's a big budget, it's a lot of information. And the budget is online, correct? It's on our
Correct.
webpage?
It is.
Okay. And the only other thing I want to mention is Project Shine, and that's coming up June 19. And the schools are Benton, Blackburn, Luff, Santa Fe Trail, and Sycamore Hills. And they're looking for corporate sponsors and volunteer teams. And to volunteer, just call Amy Knipp at 521-5300. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Huff.
I have nothing this evening.
Councilman Stewart.
Nothing tonight, Mayor, thank you.
Okay, I have a couple things I wanted to report on. We will get, as I said, a report from our lobbyists. I would expect this week, and we will schedule a time for them to come and give us an end of session wrap-up as we try to understand and untangle everything that was passed this year. But a couple things that I wanted to point out of note, I already talked about the COVID legislation, that truly could have been considerably more damaging to local government and infringement on our ability to make our own decisions here in our city for our community. So that ended up in a really very good spot in my estimation of where it could have been. The cable franchise fee, an issue that we've worked on for many, many years, did pass a reduction in the cable franchise fee from 5% to 2.5%. That would be phased out over a period of time, a period of years. That does have a significant financial impact on our city revenues. To offset that, Wayfair did pass, which will allow us to collect online sales tax not only from businesses that have a presence here in Missouri, but from anywhere in the world. So there's going to be some details that we're going to have to understand about. That became a very complex issue. Those two were tied together throughout the session, that one was not going to pass without the offset of the other. So the passage of Wayfair does allow us to recover some of the loss we anticipate from the cable franchise fee. And also the gas tax did pass. Again, that will be phased in over a period of time. That also assists with our city revenues. There is an opportunity for people to save their receipts on the gas tax and submit those with their taxes for reimbursement. So there'll be much more detail, but those were sort of the key issues that we worked on. Failure to appear, which we've worked on for many years. I'm looking at Mitch. I think we celebrated our 5-year anniversary of working on this item to allow the court the opportunity to suspend driver's license for repeat failure to appear. Again, that did not pass. That was removed from all bills and was not voted on by either body. So that was a disappointment. And there were a couple smaller issues that we were working on that also did not make it over the finish line this year, but we'll have an opportunity to work on again next year. Also, I wanted to just make sure that everybody in the community understands that with the reduced health orders that were issued on Friday, the city manager has also made some changes to our city facilities. So City Hall and the IUC are open to the public regular hours, Monday through Friday, 8 o'clock till 5 o'clock. Face coverings are encouraged, but they are, for those who are not fully vaccinated, but they are not required. And just a reminder that vaccines are readily available, and our Independence Health Department is conducting both on-site vaccination clinics at facilities or schools and other sites around town, and we will continue to operate walk-in clinics and appointment clinics at the Independence Center through the end of this month. So if you have not yet been eligible for a vaccine, or you have been postponing getting your vaccine, there are ample opportunities available through the Independence Health Department, through Jackson County Health Department, through private pharmacies and other partners. So if you're still looking to get vaccinated, there's plenty of opportunity available. Our other safe facilities, such as the Sermon Center and Palmer Center and the Uptown Market, have different hours, so just feel free to look on the website and we have those available. And we're trying to update everything. Sometimes you think of, oh yeah, we forgot to do that. So like today, we updated the phone message coming in. So if you notice things that aren't updated, please let us know so we make sure to correct those things, and we will certainly take a look at the emergency order and make sure that that is updated as well to match what we are currently doing here in the city. Mr. City Manager, anything else?
Yeah, I will share some quick but positive news with the council tonight. We received word through the Standard & Poor rating agency this past week that not only does Independence have some of the best tasting water in the world, but they now hold the highest rated debt in the city. The water department's credit rating for its outstanding debt has been raised from AA- to A+ with a stable outlook. The council really should take a strong degree of pride in that, because not only are you saving your ratepayers money down the road with lack of interest and things like that on bonds, but the cash resiliency policy that you adopted was noted and highlighted as strong financial management, and in part led to the credit rating increase that we received. So kudos to the council as well as our staff in the finance and water departments who worked to achieve this rating and help save our ratepayers a little extra money down the road. And that is all I have this evening.
Great news. Thank you very much. We are adjourned.